Super Metroid, an absolute classic that completely and utterly defines the genre of Metroidvanias. Like, there's a reason why it is half of the name, as well as Symphony of the Night, which would take a lot of inspiration from this game on the way that it is explored, besides its RPG elements. Unlike last time, we're covering a game with an actual story, and as much as this is a sequel, it doesn't really need you to play the last two games in the series, since the game gives you a very basic rundown with black and white flashbacks explaining that Samus is an absolute badass and has done a whole lot, being killing a ginormous brain once as well as genociding an entire alien species, which gave the series its namesake. After she was done genociding the alien species, she gave the last one over to a group of scientists, and almost immediately after she left the station, it was attacked. So she makes a U-turn and gets to investigating what the hell was going on, and as soon as she gets to the bottom of it, she comes face to face with someone she's already fought before, being a giant space dragon called Ridley. He's an asshole, and we'll be making sure to let him understand how we feel about that later. But as of a couple of seconds ago, we need to evacuate before the station explodes. We follow Ridley to the planet from the first Metroid game on the NES because at this point in time, developers wanted to redo their old games over again since the technology on the Super Nintendo was so advanced and could better translate visions they had for their games. We make our way deeper into the planet, so one, we can see the wreckage Samus left after she was done with Mother Brain the first time, as well as going back to get some of the old toys, with the first being the Morph Ball, making it so we can access a lot more areas, as well as missiles, which are going to act as WMDs to enemies and keys to some doors. After we're done in the wreckage of Mother Brain's first home, we need to go find the Morph Ball bombs, and fight our first boss, which we can actually win against. This statue will show up later as a revamped boss, and he is as much of a pushover here as he is there. Getting the bomb makes it so we can actually make our way down to our first energy tank, as well as the first real area of the game, being Brinstar. Brinstar feels like a very lush jungle in the beginning with a whole lot of bug-looking enemies, but starts becoming much more dead as you continue. Here there's another boss that just shoots spores at you, and to be honest, it's just a boring fight where you have to wait to shoot at it with a missile. Killing this thing makes it so we can get the Super Missile, which is an even bigger WMD for enemies and a much less wasteful keys for doors. In Brinstar, we also get our first weapon upgrade, being the Spazer, which just shoots 3 lasers from Samus's arm cannon. Triple the laser, double the damage. Makes spongy enemies a lot less tedious. Also, I forgot to mention and show that I got the charge beam, which it's basically irrelevant until we fight Ridley and a couple other bosses. After we get the Spazer, we need to take a detour down to Norfair, and quite a few times in this footage you're going to see me enter an area and then immediately leave because I don't have the item required for it yet. That's part of being in a Metroidvania, is you're going to have to do a lot of backtracking. In the matter of this room, we need the speed boost to get an energy tank and a super missile upgrade. What we made our detour for, though, was the high jump boots, which is the first time we see the excellence in game design, which is give new item, see how use. After we get the new boots, we get to break them in by being a home invader for yet another boss from the original Metroid, being Kraid. It's going to be a minute until we see that big boy, though, so let's massacre all of his guards as well as a miniature version of him. Now, when we finally get to Kraid, he extends the room because his fat ass doesn't fit initially. And Kraid is an okay fight. Games in the future definitely do this fight better, like Zero Mission as well as Dread. We'll see if we cover those games in the future, but after beating Kraid, we get the Varia suit, which is going to allow us to actually explore Norfair and is Samus's most iconic suit. Like, chances are, whenever you look at a render for Samus, you're actually looking at the Varia suit, definitely not the power suit for the most part. But after a little bit of backtracking to Norfair, we're able to get the Wave Beam, which makes it so we could shoot walls, which is especially convenient for buttons on gates that are located on the other side from us. And close by, we can also find the Speed Booster, which is an excellent use of give new item, see how use. Lets you obtain new items as well as make shortcuts between the same area. Another non-negotiable item is the Ice Beam. This can be used to freeze enemies as well as make enemies into platforms. Once again, Samus needs to home invade, but instead of it being a space pirate, we need to evict a quote-unquote innocent freak called Crocomire. And quite frankly, I don't think this thing is innocent, since his face is a crime against reality itself. And after pushing him back for a little bit, he's going to be thrown into the fiery depths of hell below. Oh god, how did he even manage to do that? What is Nintendo's obsession with throwing reptiles in lava and having them come back to life as skeletons? After witnessing a pure brutality, we need to finally cover sequence breaking. Usually you're supposed to go all the way to the top of Brinstar to go and get the power bombs, but when you're about to go get the grapple beam, you can use the ice beam to freeze an enemy to use as a platform, so you can get up to this room where you're actually supposed to be able to get additional power bombs, but for us, it's going to be our first set. Getting the grapple beam is fine, it just makes us use the speed boost and our new power bombs. I will say the grapple beam is probably my least favorite power up in this game besides the X-ray beam. It's a little too finicky for me and I'd much rather just be using jumps, even if it does allow for a fun boss kill in a little bit. After we're done in Norfair for now, we have to make our way back to the surface, which is also home to a crashed ship, which I'm guessing belongs to the space pirate. But this area's only reason for existing is to have a place for the ghost boss freak Phantom as well as the gravity suit, which the gravity suit is genuinely just perfection. Purple and red is my favorite color combo, and when it's done right, like here, it's absolutely fucking gorgeous. Now, even though the crash ship only exists for a boss fight and a new suit, it doesn't make it my least favorite. That dishonor goes to Meridia, which is our sand and water level. This is just extremely boring. Most of it is just the same and is not really great with platforming. We also get to see what I believe is a space pirate lab, but I'm not sure on the actual lore of the area. We also get to see some Metroid-like enemies before we face off against our first boss of the area, with this one being Batwoon. I think I'm saying that right. And the second boss being Dragon. And all I can say is, fuck Dragon. The fun kill with the grapple beam was referring to this asshole. You can get grabbed by him, and while he's grabbing Samus, you can use the grapple beam to grab a shock pad on the wall and make him ride the lightning. Now we get to grab the space jump, which makes it so, one, we can get out of this area, as well as we can now make it into Ridley's hideout. Before we do that, we need to get our last beam upgrade, which is the plasma beam, which overall just makes it stronger, doesn't really do anything else. It also changes the visual, which is now 2 lasers instead of 3. Before we go down to Ridley's, I also want to grab some energy tanks around the map. Sometimes it gives me trouble. We also get the reserve tank because that'll stop us from dying if we get down to 0 health. This room is where I get to really make a fool of another statue boss. After screwing around with some missiles, we get to stun lock him in the corner. And with the charge shot we have at this point, it does 900 damage apiece. Right after the statue, we're able to get the screw attack, probably the most famous power-up Samus has besides the morph ball. It's an upgrade to the space jump and only serves as a way to damage enemies while you're jumping. Moving on, we're about to fight Ridley, but before we do that, we need to deal with his guards. Easiest way to do this is to aggro one of them, then deal with him first, and then start dealing with the second one. Then we finally get to beat the shit out of what is canonically the last time we see Ridley alive in the Metroid series. And he would be intimidating if you couldn't just take him out with 20 charge shots from the beam we have at this point. And it sounds like a lot at first, but you don't even have to charge the gun all the way. Ridley's dead and the Metroid is gone, so what do? Start looting and make our way back to Mother Brain's house for once again another home invasion after 10 minutes of backtracking and speeding up the footage so fast that it breaks. Observe the atmosphere of this statue. This shit is awesome. But it's time for business. Mother Brain is making more Metroids, and that's not good. So not only do we need to kill them, but we need to find the one that we actually like. Oh, that's weird. Why are these things turned into Gust? Oh my god! Help! Oh! Oh shit! Big guy just misunderstood. It's not like this thing is actually the Metroid that looks at Samus and sees his own mother, basically. Let's go beat the shit out of Mother Brain. We get a little throwback to Metroid 1 with the barriers before we get to kill her. But now she actually has a body and fights back. And I will say Mother Brain can beat your ass if you aren't careful, but for the most part, you just need enough damage to get her to checking if you decided to get enough energy tanks so the Metroid can come save our ass once again. Metroid gives us a rainbow beam and then immediately gets murdered by Mother Brain. So it's time for us to end this home invasion with a first degree murder and end this game once and for all. Now on the escape sequence, you're going to see me fail to Shine Spark like 4 times before I give up and go the long way. And don't think I'm not saving the animals, because that's the only way to play this game. And in my opinion, if you're 100%ing, you need to do this, even if it doesn't count against the final percentage. And since I was basically speedrunning this game the whole time, we get the full completion percentage, which is seeing Samus strip. What did Nintendo mean by this? I have no idea. But I'm sure no one was complaining in the 90s, especially since this game was mostly popular in America. All in all, Super Metroid is one of my favorite games of all time, and I don't have a whole lot of negatives about it besides some of the bosses can be annoying. I'd recommend it to absolutely anyone, but next week, I'm going to be covering something horror related. If you have any game suggestions, please leave them in the comments, and I'll see you next time.